December 21, 2023, News Report 1, China's Ministry of Finance terminates Cross-Strait Economic Cooperation Framework Agreement, dispute arises over cancellation of tariff preferences. China's Ministry of Finance has announced the termination of tariff preferences for 12 products, including xylene, in the Cross-Strait Economic Cooperation Framework Agreement, effective January 1 next year. The move has sparked economic and trade disputes between the two sides. The spokesperson for the Taiwan Affairs Office, Zhu Fenglian, attributed the decision to the Democratic Progressive Party, DPP, and emphasized that both sides should negotiate and resolve economic and trade issues based on the 1992 consensus. The Cross-Strait Economic Cooperation Framework Agreement, in effect since September 2010, granted tariff exemptions on 539 items and opened up 11 service trade sectors. Taiwan's Ministry of Economic Affairs reported that from January to November this year, tariff exemptions amounted to $1.8 billion, accounting for 1.3% of Taiwan's exports to China. However, starting January 1, the tariffs on these products will increase from 0% to 1% or 2%. The Taiwan Petrochemical Union estimated that this measure would impact Taiwan's petrochemical industry by over $6 billion. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council criticized China's actions as a violation of international trade norms, branding it as political interference in elections. Presidential candidate and Kuomintang, KMT, nominee, Eric Chu, pledged to restore the Economic Cooperation Framework Agreement with China within a year if elected. The decision has ignited economic and trade disputes across the strait, becoming a focal point in Taiwan's elections. Recent polls show the Lai Shao ticket leading, with a controversial gap of nearly 10 percentage points between the blue and green camps. News Report 2, Taiwan Navy submarine accident, 6 sailors overboard, 3 missing, search and rescue underway. On December 21, the Taiwan Navy's Haihu submarine experienced equipment detachment while on duty, leading to 6 sailors falling into the sea. Amidst large waves, 3 were successfully rescued, while the whereabouts of the other 3 remain unknown. Fortunately, all sailors were wearing life jackets. The Taiwanese military swiftly deployed helicopters and warships for search and rescue operations. The Haihu submarine, built by the Netherlands in 1982, has been in service since 1988. Following the incident, President Tsai Ing-wen visited the Naval Command headquarters in Kaohsiung, personally gathering information and requesting full-scale search and rescue efforts. Rescue operations are currently underway, with the Taiwanese military committed to providing real-time updates on the progress. News Report 3, Philippines receives Japanese radar system, deployment may trigger sovereignty dispute over Scarborough Shoal. On December 20, the Philippines officially received a land-based radar system from Japan, intending to deploy it at the San Fernando Air Base, 300 kilometers from Scarborough Shoal. This action has stirred a sovereignty dispute between China and the Philippines. Scarborough Shoal, occupied by China since 2012, has been a focal point of sovereignty disputes between the two nations. The newly acquired radar system has a detection range of 550 kilometers, covering the waters surrounding Scarborough Shoal. Philippines Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana expressed the willingness to share radar information with Japan and other friendly nations. He emphasized that compromising with China on sovereignty would bring uncertainty to all countries. The cooperation agreement, signed between the Philippines and Mitsubishi Electric of Japan, is valued at 5.5 billion pesos, approximately $99 million. One radar is planned for deployment in the northern part of Luzon, near Taiwan. This marks Japan's first arms export to another country since it modified its policy in 2014. Other radar equipment is expected to be delivered no later than 2026. News Report 4, U.S. government considers tariff hike on Chinese clean energy products to avoid overdependence. According to the Wall Street Journal, the U.S. government is discussing the possibility of increasing tariffs on certain Chinese clean energy products, including electric cars, batteries, and solar products. The main goal is to reduce excessive reliance on China in the clean energy supply chain. Currently, the U.S. imports electric car batteries from China, and Southeast Asian countries import solar products from China. While these products are ostensibly imported from Southeast Asia, a significant portion still originates from China. The existing 25% tariffs limit the competitiveness of Chinese electric cars and batteries in the U.S. market, and an increase in tariffs could lead to these products gradually disappearing from the U.S. market. In addition to considering tariff increases, the U.S. government is also contemplating lowering tariffs on non-strategic consumer goods from China to maintain balance. Recently, the U.S. government has been reviewing the tariff policies imposed by former President Trump on Chinese goods and plans to conclude the tariff review early next year. This aligns with discussions on tariff increases and electric vehicle subsidy policies. The current U.S. subsidy policy for electric cars primarily focuses on the production location of batteries. If a portion of the batteries is not produced in the U.S., it may affect the preferential policies for businesses. One of the goals of this policy adjustment is to restrict Chinese products from the U.S. market. News Report 5, Chinese state-owned banks to lower interest rates again on December 22, renminbi exchange rate may face pressure. According to the Fifth Securities Times, several Chinese state-owned banks plan to lower interest rates on December 22, with a reduction in deposit rates ranging between 10 and 30 basis points. This marks the second concentrated interest rate cut by Chinese state-owned banks in just over 3 months, and it is expected to have a certain impact on the renminbi exchange rate. A statement from the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, ICBC, indicates that the one-year deposit rate will be lowered by 0.1 percentage points to 1.45%, the two-year rate will be reduced by 0.2 percentage points to 1.65%, and the three-year rate will see a reduction of 0.25 percentage points to 1.95%. The interest rate levels of other state-owned banks are consistent with those of ICBC. This marks the third interest rate cut by Chinese state-owned banks in 2023, following cuts in June and September. This interest rate reduction suggests that loan interest rates in China may decrease. However, the renminbi exchange rate has not experienced a significant decline during previous consecutive interest rate cuts, indicating that the People's Bank of China may be using substantial capital to maintain the renminbi exchange rate in the foreign exchange market. Meanwhile, the renminbi to US dollar exchange rate hit a one-week low on December 21, dropping by 114 basis points, signaling certain negative pressure on the renminbi. It's noteworthy that China has been reducing its holdings of U.S. Treasury bonds for 7 consecutive months, a measure that may be taken to uphold the renminbi exchange rate. Both interest rate cuts and the reduction in U.S. Treasury holdings may influence the renminbi exchange rate, and the market is closely monitoring the trends in the renminbi to US dollar exchange rate. Closely monitoring the trends in the renminbi to US dollar exchange rate. News Report 6, Israel discovers extensive Hamas tunnel network, exposes key facilities. On December 20, the Israeli military announced the discovery of a vast tunnel network in the center of Gaza City, containing military and political centers of power for Hamas. These tunnels span across Gaza, connecting hiding places of Hamas militants, offices, residences of senior leadership, and even major hospitals, including Shifa Hospital and Al-Shadi Hospital. This tunnel network reaches a depth of 20 meters and can be accessed through spiral staircases and elevators. It houses offices used by high-ranking Hamas leaders, equipped with facilities such as electricity, water pipes, surveillance cameras, and heavy blast doors. Through this tunnel network, Hamas conducts the transportation of weapons, ammunition, and other supplies throughout the Gaza Strip. Simultaneously, the Israeli military has made multiple attempts to capture Hamas leaders in war, with the primary focus of Israeli military operations concentrated in the Han Yunis area. The military spokesperson stated that ground, air, and sea operations have been conducted against Hamas command centers and terror infrastructure in Khan Yunis. Hamas militants have put up fierce resistance, launching rockets towards Israel, while the Hamas facilities in Khan Yunis appear to remain intact. The situation is evolving, with ongoing hostilities between the two sides. News Report 7, Russia continues attacks on Ukraine, Ukrainian forces struggling, reorganization needed. In recent weeks, as Western support for Ukraine weakened, Russia intensified its attacks on Ukrainian military forces in multiple regions. After 5 months of counteroffensives, Ukrainian forces are now in urgent need of organization, reformation, and the restoration of their combat capabilities. In the northeastern city of Kupiansk, Russia continues to apply pressure, a city crucial as a railway hub for Ukraine. Kupiansk was initially occupied by Russia in the early stages of the war and was successfully recaptured by Ukraine in September of last year. Currently, Ukraine must maintain significant military presence in Kupiansk to resist potential Russian advances. Since October, Russia has launched offensives in the nearby Afghan area, a strategic center. Multiple defense mechanisms, including concrete fortifications and tunnel networks, have been established by Russia in Afghanistan. Despite significant losses, Russian forces are steadily advancing, attempting to encircle Afghanistan and cut off Ukraine's supply lines. The conflict in Afghanistan is strategically important for both Ukraine and Russia, shaping up to be a war of attrition. Military expert Kaufman from the Carnegie Institute noted in a podcast that Ukrainian forces remain determined but are fatigued, having lost many of their combat-capable units. The situation is ongoing, and Ukraine urgently needs measures to reorganize. News Report 8, Chinese real estate firm Aoyuan files for bankruptcy protection, enters overseas debt restructuring. On December 20th, the Chinese real estate company Aoyuan filed for bankruptcy protection in New York, indicating financial distress. Established in 1996, Aoyuan went public in Hong Kong in 2007 and ranks among the top 30 companies in the Chinese real estate industry, with its primary projects concentrated in the Greater Bay Area of East Guangdong. Facing challenges of a difficult market and tight financing since the second half of 2021, Aoyuan has encountered difficulties in selling properties and securing financing, leading to liquidity issues. Liquidity problems imply tight funds, difficulty in obtaining credit, and challenges in market transactions. Aoyuan's financial report reveals that, as of the end of last year, its quarterly interest-bearing debt in China was 66.2 billion renminbi, and overseas interest-bearing debt was 42.8 billion renminbi, totaling 100 billion renminbi. In November, Aoyuan claimed to have garnered sufficient support from creditors and planned to undergo restructuring, with approval sought in Hong Kong courts in January next year for its US dollar debt. Currently, Aoyuan has filed for bankruptcy protection in the United States, marking the first step in overseas debt restructuring. Subsequently, Aoyuan will undergo restructuring in Hong Kong, with the formal process commencing upon court approval. This move evokes memories of previous companies in financial distress, such as Evergrande and Country Garden, which also filed for bankruptcy protection in the U.S. News Report 9, Coal mine accident at Kunyuan mine in Jishi, Heilongjiang, 12 dead, 13 injured. Asia News reports that on the afternoon of December 21, a mine accident occurred at the Kunyuan coal mine in Jishi City, Heilongjiang. The cause of the accident was a runaway mining car in an inclined shaft, resulting in the car falling along the shaft and causing 12 deaths, with an additional 13 people injured. The accident site at Kunyuan coal mine consists of an inclined shaft, and the mining car lost control during the lifting process, leading to the tragic incident. Currently, the specific cause of the accident is still under investigation. The mining car typically accommodates 25 miners, but due to the loss of control and fall, the exact circumstances remain unclear. Established in 2010, Kuanyuan coal mine has faced 4 administrative penalties in the past 2 years for multiple violations of safety production laws, with total fines amounting to 120,000 renminbi. However, despite facing administrative penalties, the mine has still experienced this fatal mining car accident, raising questions about the effectiveness of such penalties. News Report 10. Secretary-General of Hong Kong Confederation of Trade Unions family sentenced to 6 months for alleged obstruction of justice. On December 21, the West Kowloon Magistrates Court sentenced the sister-in-law of the Secretary-General of the Hong Kong Confederation of Trade Unions, CTU, Carol Ng, to 6 months in prison for allegedly obstructing justice. The court pointed out that in March of this year, Carol Ng's wife, Yuan Lai, was arrested by Hong Kong National Security Police, and Yuan Lai visited her sister's residence twice before police searches, taking away computers and phones before the searches. Judge Ching Ching-tung stated during sentencing that Yuan Lai seriously violated the Hong Kong version of the national security law, but there was no evidence showing that Yuan Lai's illegal actions were related to her sister's. Yuan Lai's behavior was deemed a one-time event, and the sentence was imposed for obstructing justice for 6 months. It is worth noting that the judge explicitly stated that the seized phones and computers were not related to the illegal activities of her sister. Commentators pointed out that the Chinese government's approach to democratic figures through their family members is disconcerting. News Report 11. Sharp decline in Japanese tourists to Hong Kong, only 38% of 2019 numbers in the first 10 months of 2023. According to the latest data from the Japan National Tourism Organization, the number of Japanese tourists visiting Hong Kong in the first 10 months of this year was only 250,000, less than 38% of the total for the entire year in 2019. Hong Kong, once a popular destination for Japanese New Year tourism, has fallen out of the top 10 this year, ranking 5th. Consul General in Hong Kong Kenichi Kanda noted that in addition to the high cost of living in Hong Kong, the anti-extradition protests in 2019 also contributed to the decrease in Japanese tourists. Due to political uncertainties and issues related to internet access, Japanese tourists' interest in Hong Kong has waned, leading to a significant overall decrease in tourist numbers. The total number of tourists visiting Hong Kong in the first 10 months of this year was 26.78 million, only 53% of the same period in 2019. Among them, 80% of tourists came from mainland China, while visitors from Western countries decreased significantly, making Hong Kong's tourism more reliant on the mainland Chinese market. News Report 12. National Language Center announces annual Chinese character and word, zheng, represents upward development, netizens controversial about high-quality development. The National Language Center's Chinese character and word selection, unveiled on December 20, declared the annual character to be zheng, symbolizing an upward trend and development. The international word of the year is v, representing victory and unity. However, this choice has sparked controversy domestically. While the official explanation is that zheng represents high-quality development, Chinese netizens argue that zheng seems more like a symbol of listlessness. Many believe it reflects the downturn in the economy, stock market, real estate prices, and the general morale of the people. Some netizens suggested that the word of the year should be dai, which more accurately describes the economic and social conditions. The Chinese character and word selection has been ongoing for 18 years, unveiling a character each year to describe China's relationship with the world. However, this year's choice has led to questioning and discussions among netizens regarding the symbolism of vocabulary. News Report 13. Hong Kong government's low-density residential land auctions lackluster, income sharply declines. On December 20, the Hong Kong government announced the tender results for a low-density seafront residential land parcel at Chung Chau Tung Wan Road. The total area of the parcel is 200,000 square feet, with a buildable area of 80,000 square feet, and it was finally awarded to Sino Group for 200 million Hong Kong dollars. This transaction price represents an 80% decrease compared to the transaction price of a piece of land in the same region in 2019. Throughout this year, the Hong Kong government has launched 5 land parcels, with 4 being residential and 1 commercial. However, the total land sales revenue was only 13.5 billion Hong Kong dollars, a 53% year-on-year decline. This marks Hong Kong's least revenue from land sales in a fiscal year since 2010. MTR Corporation and Urban Renewal Authority also launched multiple projects, but 2 major projects ended up with no bids, leading to a substantial decline in the government's land sales revenue. PwC predicts that land sales revenue in Hong Kong will decrease by 37 billion Hong Kong dollars, a 47% year-on-year drop, from the 2023 to 2024 fiscal year. This leaves the Hong Kong government with a budget deficit of 110 billion Hong Kong dollars, double the initial estimate of 54 billion Hong Kong dollars at the beginning of the year, indicating financial difficulties.